Good evening and welcome to The Square. Tonight is the 30th edition of Viewers Edition, where you, the public, suggest topics that we discuss on The Square as resident panelists. I'm very happy to announce some of the topics that we have for tonight that your viewers have put forward to us via social media feeds. The first is to do with service delivery in different sectors, the quality and the state of service delivery. We're also going to look at CHOGM preparedness. Are we ready in terms of infrastructure, in terms of hospitality to host this very big event? We're also going to look at the recent proliferation of what is known as Twitter spaces. These are digital spaces where people from all walks of life talk about societal issues. And in Rwanda, we've seen a lot of Twitter spaces in the last month. My name is Jan PC, host of The Square. As always, I'm joined by The Square resident panelists. And I'll start with you, Charles. Great to have you on the show. Viewers Edition.
Samir Dana, how are you?
Good.
I'm just trying to wonder, 30th edition means exactly how many years?
30 months.
Oh, wow.
Do the math. Yeah, so we've been doing Viewers Edition for 30 months. Although the Square is much older than that, but just thank you to our viewers for keeping this going. Brenda Namata, great to have you on the Square.
Thank you, Diana.
Great. I don't think we have any midweek issues to discuss because we're going into issues that have been put forward by our loyal viewers. So the first is to do with service delivery, or should we say poor sector service delivery, because the issue at hand is that it's not up to par, especially ahead of various conferences that are happening, but that have also happened in the past. And we all know that almost half of the national GDP comes from the services sector in Rwanda, around 48%. And despite this, service delivery in both the public sector and the private sector has been plagued by poor quality to customers and citizens alike. The question is to both you, Charles and Berna. I know this is a recurring issue on the Square. We've been talking about this since we started the show in 2018. What can be done to improve it? What are the reasons for some of the issues when it comes to service delivery? So my question, and I'll start with you, Charles, is it's not a silver bullet question. A question that has a silver bullet answer. But what do you think can be done to really, deal with this never-ending issue that risks impeding the growth of various sectors, especially tourism and hospitality, which are the major drivers of our economy? So my question to you is, what do you think needs to be done? And what works, what doesn't work?
Today I was going down the southern province and to a little bit of the west. So I went through Muhanga, ended up in Ngororero, and I stopped by this place, a coffee shop, in a place called Musambira. The coffee shop's called Stafford. Amazing service. Now, I was a little bit concerned that, because I was running a little bit late for my meeting in Ngororero, and then the people with whom I was, we decided to pre-order. We called the coffee shop and said, can you please order for us this and this and this? We had left Kigali relatively early without breakfast, so we wanted to have a quick breakfast and continue for our meeting. As soon as we got there, our food was ready. It was served with a smile in less than 10 minutes.
Where again?
Stafford.
In Ngororero?
No, it's in Musambira. Musambira is in Muhanga district.
Yes.
Then we were all very impressed. We spent the whole day in Ngororero, and then we said, and we missed lunch and everything, and then on our way back we were really starving. But we said, let's hold the fort until we get back to Stafford, because the experience there was just out of this world. And we joked about, I think I told a friend of mine when I got to Kigali that I think we should be going to Musambira for lunch and come back, because the experience is unrivaled. The question you asked me is what needs to be done. I think one of the things that need to be done is to name and shame, and we don't have that very strong culture of naming and shaming, and that's because largely you'll find that almost all of us live in glass houses, so you don't want to be the one throwing stones. So on the public sector side, and it's very easy for you to blame or to shame where you're spending your money because you want good value for money. But are we good at doing that? I think we should. That's one culture that needs to be very, very strongly encouraged. But also, in as long as we do not acknowledge the fact that certain institutions, and I'll go a little bit to the public sector.
Yes, please.
Yeah, because if you take out immigration out of the entire public service, I cannot point at one single institution that serves its people well. I think the government of Rwanda is the worst at customer care, with the exception of the immigration. So is it enough that the chairman of RPF will complain about it at the neck, year in, year out, and we don't see a change? Is it enough that the RGB will have its governance scorecard and rate its own sister institutions extremely poorly and they get away with it, whilst somebody else who is stealing government money is landing himself in prison? Shouldn't people be brought to book for bringing disrepute to public service in terms of offering appalling service? And I think that's what needs to be done, that people should be held accountable for simple things like not responding to correspondence on time, walking into a public office and there's nobody to receive you, people not returning your emails, people not, and so on and so forth. And I think in quick summary, as far as at least the public service is concerned, is people should be held accountable where it pains. Yes.
And just to dig a bit deeper, when you say accountable, what is your idea? What's your understanding of being held accountable?
Okay.
Is it a jail sentence? Is it being fired from the job? Is it being put on probation?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your take on that?
You know, when a civil servant has been arrested on suspicion of abuse of office, there will be a very quick tweet that will come out from RIB or RPPA or police or ombudsman or any of those guys to say we have arrested Banana Mata on suspicion. I think in the same way, by that they have character assassinated you. There is no way you're going to bounce back from that. In the same way, this public servant, and I'll just say a civil status officer in a certain umurenje, should be ridiculed in public for not doing their job. And I think it starts from that level. If you know you're going to be a public shame for not doing your job, then you will start taking that
and
job serious.
And you think
yes.
that would be a deterrent?
A huge deterrent, at least a step in the right direction. Yeah, I think reputation is one thing that you cannot go into the shop and buy anywhere for $1 million. And we are, especially as Rwandese, we're extremely proud people. Nobody wants to be out there ridiculed. So the moment I know it's going to put my reputation on the line as a mayor or a DG or whoever I am in whatever public office, I'll take it serious.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Farna, your thoughts?
I actually want to disagree with him because if you look at what is the African continent, let me focus on the African continent. I think Rwanda runs and ranks very favorably in terms of public service delivery. There are reports to that effect.
Even if you're comparing us with the DRC, then...
No. Of course not DRC. The reports are there. So there's a track record. And I insist that public service delivery in Rwanda actually is much better than the private sector, And quite often, it's kind of a contradiction. You would think that the private sector, which should be driven by return on investment, profits, should be more attuned to, improved service delivery or customer service. That's not the case. From my personal experience, I find that the public sector is actually more reliable. Yes, you'll have challenges here and there, but they are more responsive. And I think part of that is because of the systems that have been put in place. Imihigo, before it had its own issues, kind of put people under pressure. And we saw that the service actually, people were under pressure to deliver because of those performance contracts, for instance. So there's a certain record, I think, that, and the public sector deserves credit for that. My concern is when you see an investor who has spent so much money putting up a facility and the service is bad. It just doesn't make sense. And when someone says you should expose them, well, maybe we should just leave you to run out of business. And this happens.
Especially in with health facilities.
And not just health facilities, coffee shops, restaurants. When they start, like he's saying, you know, everybody's impressed. You just have to give it 2 years. Just give it 2 years and see whether there's consistency in terms of you know, the quality of service or customer experience. We don't have that. And I think part of the problem is because we don't really track customer service delivery. We've been requesting that RDB does more beyond business registration to actually track how some of these investors evolve, not only in terms of job creation, but also because they have a bit of responsibility around customer service. Can they have routine assessments and come up with a scorecard? I think then people will begin to take it more seriously. Because there's no other way, if an investor has set up their, let's talk about, maybe it's a restaurant. If you feel you should actually walk out, okay, and just leave. But then it stops there. But then how does that affect all the other things that we are trying to achieve as a country, you know? So I would really want that the public sector, some of these institutions take a lead on helping the private sector to raise service levels. And part of that, one is doing routine assessments like we've seen in recent months leading to CHOGM. If we can have that routine, whether it's the grading, just before CHOGM, I think you'd go to places and they are happily, you know, showing off this star grading, which is about 5 years old. You know, like, and so if you're happily saying you were maybe 3-star 5 or 6 years ago, the customer who comes to that facility and cannot relate to that star, we want to blame the person who actually gave the star, because once you grade them, you're telling us that yes,
it should be a continuous,
you know, yes
process. So
you really, it would be good that we have those consistent assessments. It doesn't stop. To your earlier point, our economy is shifting towards the service sector, so, and it has to move beyond the kind of jobs we have today around the service sector. Most people in the service sector, if we talk about hospitality, for instance, they're not premium jobs, you know, where people are highly paid. The bigger portion of that is cleaners and who are not really, you know, so how do you increase value? Because if businesses are profitable, then they can pay better, you know, and they can give better employment packages. You know, the retention, the staff retention is good. So for me, my concern is around the private sector. And I'm surprised, Charlie, you went somewhere what time did you go?
7:30.
7:30, and you had...
Yes.
Try it around Kigali. Even tomorrow, if you just move around 7:30 and try to find a place for breakfast.
I don't bother.
A business meeting, breakfast, you'll struggle because 7:30 is actually when most of these outlets are opening, you know. In other places, 7:30 people are done, they are concluding the meeting, you know, because they have to be in office probably at 8, you know. So I don't know.
So you
know.
see, between public sector and private sector, your disagreement with Charles is our public sector is relatively on service delivery, doing its best. The situation is not dire, as Charles says, and your issue is really with our private sector.
Yeah.
A major overhaul needs to be done when it comes to service delivery.
I think, Dana, where I agree with Bana is because it's in comparison. It's public sector in comparison to
But both of them have an issue.
Yes, both of them. It's just a lesser evil.
Yes.
But
lesser evil. Oh, you can't say that.
I think and I'm going to say something that's really not so good to say, but it's a hyperbole. The biggest problem we have in Rwanda is that our unemployment levels are low.
What?
We need to get to a level
we were on
where
the show for the last 2 weeks talking about unemployment, youth skills development.
Yes.
It's a big
We
problem.
need to get to a level where we are.
It's alarming.
It is extremely alarming for master's degree holders to be able to find themselves into employment. Today you talk about somebody who is qualified and they say they are underemployed.
Yes.
Because they are doing a job that does not match their qualifications or their experience.
Yes.
We need to get to a level where there is no job at all. And then they will take that job that they have serious.
Okay.
Yes,
I get your point.
yes. So you go to our neighboring countries and you meet a guy driving a cab. He's speaking very good English. He's directing you to wherever you want to go. He's telling you everything that is happening. And he's also telling you about politics in your own country. I mean, like, where do you find all this time? It's because he has gotten an opportunity to at least be a cab driver. And he's taking that job serious. So I think that's it's not a very pleasant thing to say, but some truths are supposed to be uncomfortable.
Unpleasant, uncomfortable truths.
Yeah.
Naming and shaming from you, Charles. Brenna, you're talking about continuous assessment, especially private sector institutions. Personally, for me, I would like to see, again, from, whether it's, PPP, sort of a body, but something that has continuous training in service delivery and customer care. There are so many, you wake up one morning, you hear of an investment that cost this and this in this particular institution, or a deal that was made that cost this. The returns are, they're thinking about them long term. And I know there was a customer care centric campaign some time back from government, from RDB, if I'm not mistaken. Where has it gone now? We used to talk about how service delivery used to cost the country millions. I think in between 2015 to 2018, it was, the hottest topic at that time. What's happened? And our MICE industry, the tourism industry, has grown exponentially. But if we're investing in the arena, if we're investing in, in sports tourism, if we're investing in this, in that, we're having CHOGM coming on, for crying out loud in a couple of weeks. But the narrative when it comes to training our people deliberately, customer care centric programs in institutions, public sector, private sector, I feel that we've kind of given up on that. And I know there were offices, departments in various institutions that were taking care of that, I don't know if it was at Mifotra, I'm not sure, but you'd have RDB, there's a customer care service training at least twice a year. Bank of Kigali twice a year, in public and private sector alike. So my call to action would be, those responsible, let's bring back these campaigns, this customer care training campaigns, because it's sorely lacking, really. Yes.
I think we shouldn't forget that the time we actually had the campaigns.
Wasn't it Nayombi?
Yes.
Yes.
Those campaigns were under RDB.
Yes.
And then at some point, service delivery moved to the Rwanda Governance Board.
Yes.
So, again, institutional coordination.
Exactly.
I feel for the team at RDB because everybody looks at them and is holding them to account.
But you said they could collaborate with RGB.
Yeah, but some of these things are difficult. If RGB says we are the ones responsible, and then RDB could as well,
But we keep on talking about institutional
coordination. Yes.
Why do these institutions work in silos? Why?
Yeah.
I want
they're serving the public good. all of them. Everyone is serving the public good. Every institution is serving citizens of Rwanda. Our taxpayers' money, all of us, institutions, individuals alike who pay taxes, it is because we want this improvement in services. There's no need to work in silos. So to your point, like you said, Brenna, institutional coordination also needs to be improved when it comes to service delivery in both sectors.
I have a suggestion to make, but let me just throw a lighter note on what Bana said regarding the Rwanda Governance Board. Last week, a boss at Rwanda Governance Board was arrested on fraud or forgery allegations. So I think there must be an ardent reader of the Bible, particularly where they talk about do as I say, but don't do as I do.
As I do.
But the bigger point I wanted to raise was really around the Nayombi campaign and the other initiatives that government has taken on that have been impactful. And I'll give two. One is around how we tackled hygiene-related issues and what have you, and where there would be, literally hygiene policemen at each and every, and these were us. These were citizen alertness. It was everybody was a police of everybody, and it had a significant impact. Today, wherever you are, you're very cautious that you don't want to litter, and because there's a very, very deliberate campaign to say we're not going to accept to be a dirty or a filthy country or city for that matter. Let's go to COVID and the sternness with which we said we actually have a problem and we have to tackle it. So if we acknowledged as a people that we actually have a problem, and because we are very listening people, if the government said we have a problem and this is how we are going to tackle it, trust me, everybody in this country will toe that line, and within a year or 6 months at best, it will have improved.
I wish it was easy.
No. It's all we need to be. All the government needs to do is to tackle it with the sternness that it requires to be tackled with.
Restrictions, guidelines for COVID-19. I remember in the first 6 months, it was difficult. You had people at the stadium, people violating COVID guidelines, left, right, and center. But by December 2020. Everyone was trying. When it comes to Umuganda, when it comes to no littering, no plastic, everything Chelsea is mentioning.
Yes.
So, just to kick off some of the tangible solutions we're offering in terms of service delivery, naming and shaming, yes, it might work. We do it, and officials actually decide, what, I need to be a bit more accountable. You said, a consistent grading of institutions, especially in hospitality and industry. A grading where, you give them 5 stars. It should be every year, not just when big events are happening. And for me, my take is that there should just be a bit more deliberate training, literal hands-on training in institutions to do with customer care and service delivery. I totally...
Maybe just one final one.
And also on Chelsea's point, let's be deliberate about this, especially the people who put the laws in order or set the tone, government, if they can be a bit more deliberate in saying, guys, this is it, this is the standard, either you're with it or you're not, and this happens if you're not, compliant.
I was just thinking of 2 slogans as we were speaking. One, the customer is always right, and the customer is king.
Yes.
Because ideally, the customer is why you have your job.
Exactly.
So can we run campaigns that kind of change the mindset? Whoever is in front of you is a customer.
Is right.
And is right. Is right, is king.
Yes.
Is the reason you have the job. So treat them as such.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's go to the next part of the topic, which is to do with CHOGM readiness. Everyone knows that CHOGM is happening in a couple of weeks. I think from 18th June. Starting 18th June. And Rwanda has been working tirelessly around the clock in preparation for CHOGM2022, and that's happening in Kigali. We've seen in addition to infrastructure, the hospitality sector has seen over 128 hotels in the country fully prepared, with over 8,000 rooms ready to host about 5,000 to 6,000 delegates that are attending the CHOGM2022 meeting. The Commonwealth heads of government meeting. Again, you know, in light of what we've just discussed, Charles and Brenner, you know, we're talking about service delivery, poor sector service delivery in both public and private sectors. How prepared do you think Rwanda is in terms of hosting CHOGM, and what are your expectations on what should be done to ensure a seamless experience? And not only for CHOGM, even the International Telecommunication Union, they're having meetings starting 1st June. So June is heavy, and the rest of the year. What do you think needs to be done to ensure a seamless experience for visiting delegates in the next coming months? And Brenna, I'll kick off with you. And right now, it's not pinpointing the problems. I think we pinpointed the problems. But what do you think needs to be done to ensure seamless experience for visiting delegates? I'll kick off with you, Brenna.
You know, there's one question that keeps coming up. My colleagues in the media like to ask, how ready is Rwanda? How ready? How ready?
Become a buzzword,
yeah.
CHOGM readiness.
And you know, the standard response, at least from the different stakeholders, is Rwanda has been ready 2 years ago. But to my earlier point, there's a lot of confidence in the public sector in terms of delivering CHOGM.
Yes.
Yeah. The risk and my concern is more to the private sector.
Absolutely.
You know.
Absolutely.
Just a month to the event, I haven't seen a lot of campaigns around side events.
And just to interject, sorry, pardon. A month to the event, I mean, we saw just in March the closure of 2 establishments by RDB, 2 hotels, I think the Hilltop Hotel and another hotel, with regards to poor service delivery. And this was during the cycling, the Rwanda, Tour de Rwanda. This was in March. So, yeah, I'm just also wondering our private sector, how ready are you?
Poor Hilltop, one of the French riders, saw a lizard in the room and reported that there was a congregation of reptiles.
Oh no.
Yes, but Brenna, go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, so my concern is really around the private sector. And the reason I'm really concerned about the private sector is because we really want the private sector to be the driver of growth.
Absolutely.
You know, I think anybody who listened to the Prime Minister earlier, a week ago or so.
A week ago, yes.
Or 2 weeks ago. The government is investing so much money to push the private sector to create jobs, because you need that transition. Currently, we are still heavily dependent on the public sector. So on one hand, it's good that you have the public sector that is in charge. But again, maybe it is too much. It's kind of killed imagination on the side of the private sector. Why don't we have side events? Why don't we have pre-events? You know, and we keep saying we have these rooms, we have hotels. I also think that most of them will be overwhelmed. Maybe your hotel has been ready for 1 month, but it's been empty. The first person who comes into that room, I don't think will enjoy it.
True.
You know, so there's even that risk that, yes, you have these new facilities, but maybe they've been ready for 6 months and nobody has been occupying them. Even that has a problem, you know. So I don't know how you can fix that, but I think it will take, again, the public sector aggressively pushing. I know RDB has organized several sessions.
Yes.
I mean, they've been doing it for a number of months now, trying to engage PSF. But it's tough. Yeah, it's tough. Why are we not seeing flyers, you know, talking about, you know, side events? What can I do when I'm in Kigali? You know, yeah, it's.
That's a very good point to raise regarding, yes, people are coming here for the meeting, but after the meetings, after the roundtables, the fireside chats and all that, where do they go? And it's not where do they go to established, you know, places, you know, hotels and restaurants, but what activities are also happening. So I think it would be good to have these activities, you know, really, really sounded out from the last 2 months ago, not you know, 15th June, you're saying there's going to be a fashion show, there's going to be a concert, so I totally hear you on that.
And you know, it's
so you're saying, you know, in terms of readiness, can we announce what's in the pipeline in side, and you're not talking about side meetings, but events that
outside,
surround, outside events that surround the time delegates are here, so they can really tap into the economy, for crying out loud. And you know, there's a spend, there's also interesting activities for them to do. So you're saying you're not seeing...
I'm not seeing that.
Yes.
And I'm also concerned about, I feel that Made in Rwanda may miss an opportunity to really take advantage of the over 5,000 guests that we'll have. If you take a spot check around a few of these Made in Rwanda shops, they actually don't have the capacity to,
like, let's say,
to deal with huge orders.
Out of 5,000 people, let's say 1,500 people go to all the, you know, spot check, go to, you know, 6 or 7 of these established, let's talk about fashion, fashion houses. And, you know, per 1,500 people, they're ordering at least 5 outfits or 5 garments or 5 products.
They're not ready.
That's a good point. Are they ready to actually deliver on that?
They're not ready, and I'll give you an example. This week, towards last week we had a big event, and then we had Bal. Bal is still going on. So, and that also brought in quite high-profile guests who go to these kind of Made in Rwanda high. And if you go to any of those shops right now and say, I'm trying to find, you'll not get it. Because already the Bal people have already cleared the stock. You know. So imagine during CHOGM, what is going to happen? Yeah. So whoever is in charge of Made in Rwanda, maybe it's a good time to run a campaign and remind people that please try as much as you can. You know, let's have the souvenirs.
And quality.
Yes, and quality, of course.
Don't just do it for the sake of, of quantity, but quality as well.
Yeah. Quality, but also it's good to have variety, you know, because sometimes some items are overpriced because, you know, so can we, if you have less money, can the market provide for whatever pocket, you know, whatever is in your pocket? Yeah. Right now, I don't think so. And so I feel that the Made in Rwanda team can do more to push, you know, some of these entrepreneurs to find a way of getting ready, whether it's stock. Because, I mean, if you have Bal and there's no stock, what is going to happen? And most people will be looking for souvenirs. Yeah.
Very valid points, Berna. Charles?
Again, it's always nice when I disagree with Berna, but we don't expect that CHOGM will come back to this part of the world in several decades, or probably not in our lifetime. But by virtue of the fact that you can be considered to host CHOGM, even though you're the baby of the fraternity, it says a lot towards the trust and faith that continental bodies or global bodies have in you to be able to host events. So you may not be, you may not be able also to get a CHOGM again, but you'll probably, you know, it's a loud statement, you may be able to get to host something that's bigger than CHOGM, you know. You can imagine World if you Cup. Hosted forget even about the World Cup, even if you host the FIFA annual conference, that's extremely big.
It's coming, not so.
I don't know about that.
Should we hold salted bated breath? So.
No, I think the sky is the limit as it is now. If we've gotten CHOGM and we've gotten others, we'll get that caliber and above. But this is what CHOGM has done to this country, and I think because we have proved to ourselves that we can deliver last minute. We always sort of leave it to last minute, and somehow we pull it off, right? We leave people with a lot of high blood pressures of building a brand new bridge overnight, and painting roads on the eve of the event, and you still pull it off, and in the morning it's all shiny and glossy. Building an arena in 6 months, we've pulled it off and it's worked. So. What CHOGM has done to this country is extremely good in terms of leaving us infrastructure that will last us a lifetime. And I think that's the biggest plus that I'm taking away from it. Can I say that I don't care how the event ends? Of course I can't say that. But it's about, the point I really want to raise about managing expectations. That the infrastructure is there to live a lifetime. The service and the service delivery and the expectations is probably something that we might be excused of because we've not hosted an event of this magnitude ever before.
But Charles, just very quickly, we've had 2 years.
Yes.
2 years to you know, from the first time it was announced and then postponed.
I think that's very unfair. That's very unfair because we had 2 years of no business activity. And to Bernard's point about a closed hotel.
But 2 years,
yes.
I'm not talking about business activity. I'm going back to my original point. 2 years of saying we have a problem with customer care in this country. We have something that's happening post, I don't know if we're post-COVID, but, you know, we have seen the worst of it, hopefully, you know, fingers crossed. We couldn't say, you know, we are mobilizing to have these events. Our public sector leaders were you know, they were doing their job. They were mobilizing to have CHOGM. They were mobilizing to have ITU. These are events that are 2-3 years ahead of time. We couldn't say, not we, but, you know, the people in charge couldn't say, yes, great, we have secured this, we have secured that, we have secured this. Now, since we have secured this, we know our problem in Rwanda. What are we going to do deliberately to ensure these people come and have a fantastic experience, not on the roads, but in the restaurants, in the hotel rooms, in the taxi cabs, in the hair salons? What are we doing? So I feel like, yes, we can cut them some slack, but going back to the issue of customer care, attention and training and being deliberate, what can you do about it? I feel like we slept on the job.
I don't think it's going to be sorted in CHOGM with a few months to go. I think we will embarrass ourselves. Yeah. We will embarrass ourselves, and let's be prepared for that. Yeah. On a lighter note, I am looking forward to the migrants who are coming to this country, and I have a suggestion to whoever cares to listen. Let's take them to a school. Take Vatel or whoever it is to train them and also teach them some Kinyarwanda and put them in the service space.
You think they'll take over?
It will be phenomenal. You try to go to Heathrow today and see and try to find who is actually serving. It's migrants who are doing all the amazing work that Heathrow is praised for. Go to the airport in Qatar. Go to the airport in Dubai. Go to the other one in Hamad. Where is Hamad? I think is the one in Qatar. I mean, it's expatriates doing or migrants doing this job.
The locals don't want to
so to my earlier point, excuse me for repeating myself, this customer care problem will be solved by very high levels of unemployment.
Underemployment.
Unemployment. Yes.
No, earlier only said underemployment.
No, unemployment. Yes.
Okay, but again, I just feel like, you know, we keep on singing the same song, just different days and different years. But we have an issue with customer care. We need more campaigns around it, and we need more training. You know, we need to inject or divert funds to actually go into training. Because who knows what huge event we're going to have in 2023 or 2024. So thank you very much, Charles.
We'll have Libyans and Cameroonians and Iranians and Afghanistan,
you know, thanks very
serving
much.
us brochette.
Thanks, Charles and Brenna. I want us to go to a Twitter feed and just look at what's being tweeted by our viewers. We have a couple of tweets coming in, and the first tweet is from Bernard, who says, the expression in Rwanda that the country is cleaner, is efficient in service delivery, and better than elsewhere on the African continent should be used sparingly. This narrative creates complacency and is often used to justify poor and lack of services in different areas. Okay, that was addressed to you.
I had an argument with somebody in Nairobi last week about this whole thing of Kigali being the cleanest city.
Hold your thoughts, hold your thoughts. The second tweet coming in, if you could have that on our screens, is also from Bernard, who says that it has probably been talked about before, but we should be accountable without calling the president calling attention on issues to get traction. Spot on that. It is hard to keep these institutions seriously given how they keep disappointing the population they serve. Bernard is right with us in terms of what we're talking to. It's really unfair that we have to involve the president to have these issues taken seriously. You know, His Excellency has so much, he's doing so much responsibilities. This is your job, just do it well, you know. So very spot on, like we do not need traction. based on leadership calling out these issues. Just very quickly, the issue you had.
Yes. I was traveling and I was at this conference and people are saying Kigali, oh, Kigali is the cleanest city. And I said, hold on that thought. I said,
shouldn't we be clean?
Yes. Are you going to
We have moved on
sulk?
from being a clean city.
Because you, what's the alternative?
Yeah.
I know.
You know, and I went on, and I was silenced because I was told that we take our cleanliness for granted.
I know.
To which
Like so many things.
Yeah.
Like security.
But it's
take many things for
it's
granted.
beginning to bore me, and I really shut people down when they say we're the cleanest city.
And it kind of reminds me, it's like if someone comes to your home and they're just in awe, like, your house is so clean, wow.
I know. Like
As opposed to, you wanted my house to be filthy? Yeah, well, keep on representing Rwanda and saying that it's not that we take it for granted, it's expected of the government that serves its people.
Yeah.
I take a different view on that. I just feel that, I mean, we've moved on from just being a clean city.
Yeah, there's much more.
We have drones, there's so much happening, you know. So I always feel like the clean bit is this tired narrative.
It's very archaic.
Yeah, like there's more, there's so much happening. Yeah,
absolutely agree with you on that.
We just can't serve it properly.
Let's go to Twitter Spaces. Yeah, it's you know, thank you very much to our viewers who said, please talk about the Twitter Spaces. So Twitter Spaces, you know, these are digital platforms where people from all walks of life come and convene online, just via audio, to talk about societal issues. And in Rwanda, we know that there was a proliferation this last couple of weeks of Twitter Spaces where people were talking about issues. The first was the saga of Miss Rwanda, where the organizers were accused of sexual abuse, arrested on grounds of that. We also had the former Minister of Youth and Culture, State Minister, Edouard Bamhoriki, who was arrested on charges of corruption. So, you know, Twitter Spaces just went on fire in this country. So the issue that our viewers wanted us to discuss is, has it democratized voices? People now who really don't have avenue or agency were able to share their thoughts. But some have been accused of really abusing these platforms and hiding behind their digital identities, so to speak, and really abusing these platforms. I personally was on a Twitter space and I just kept on logging on and off, but it lasted 7 hours, which I don't understand why it happened. But yeah, let's just talk about it as a closing topic. Brenna, I'll kick off with you. You know, we're both media people.
I know.
Yeah, what's your take on it? Is it being abused? Is it giving people agency? Is it giving people voice to air out some of these societal issues? What are some of your thoughts?
So I'm going to say this, and Charlie, don't judge me. I've actually never listened to any.
Yeah.
I've never joined the Twitter space.
You're not missing anything.
So Charlie, don't judge me. I'm ancient, but yeah. So, but here's the thing with social media. It is true that there's an opportunity there. Democratization, yes, people can express their views, but as we say in the media, freedom of speech or expression is not a ticket to stupidity, you know. And for me, what is even worse is uninformed views. So because this is a space, you can express yourself, and some people take it, you know, have all sorts of uninformed views and mislead others, which is a problem. But again, you can't control Twitter, so what are you going to do about it? It's difficult. And also I think the other trend is there's competition for followers, likes. So people will do all sorts of things to get more likes or also, you know. So if you ask me as a journalist, I only monitor social media for news gathering, you know. And I'm more aware. So I wouldn't be a victim of this other bit. But I worry, of course, that some people who are not used to, you know, who don't have that exposure to diverse sources of information, Twitter will easily be a place where there will be misinformation, disinformation. So it's delicate. You can't control it. It is there because you don't own the engine, so it's there. And I think the person who's been saying they're going to buy it will probably make it even worse. You know, so it's difficult. I don't know, but we've seen in recent months law enforcement agencies trying to take action on some of the messages, but it's tough. Yeah, it's tough.
Charles, your thoughts?
Well, I think we need to have a Twitter space about Twitter spaces. Yeah.
Are you judging me?
No. I'm not going to judge you at all, Banner, because I also find it a bit too. Ask yourself, why don't you have a Twitter? Why haven't I seen a Twitter space about monkeypox, for argument's sake? Why is it that when you look at some of the Twitter spaces, either around trivial issues, and I'm not trivializing some of the issues that have been discussed, but find so many idlers on there and people inboxing you to tell you, why aren't you in my space? And
oh, really? There's even harassment.
There's a lot of harassment that takes place there. They say, well, why did you comment about this, but you're not in my space? And so I hope that we don't get to a point where our policies, our judicial system, our progress, our development is going to be determined by the Twitter space.
Which is more like a court of public opinion.
Yes, it's absolutely. It is a court.
It is a court of public opinion.
Yes, it is a court of public opinion. Yeah, and you can almost see that's the trend that it's taking, and the sooner it is called out, the better, because we've had quite a few victims of abuse of online platforms, especially Twitter, because it's just a few characters to destroy somebody, and that's about it. But Twitter Spaces in particular, I have a very big problem, because maybe I'm old school in nature, but my thinking of Twitter is that it's supposed to be brief, as the word suggests. Now, to your point, Diana, that there's a Twitter space that's going to last 7 hours. Where is the brevity in there? So.
But it's going on because they can see people are joining.
Yeah. So there is abuse to that extent. I think it needs to be called out. I don't know if there's anyone making money in it or how they are making money. I don't see it. So that's why I think it's for idlers. Yeah.
I don't know. I have two thoughts on it. One, I think Twitter Spaces really are the new way of digital, convening people digitally to even talk about pressing issues. I've hosted one, of course, for professional reasons, not to do with issues, topics that society is dealing with. We've seen various institutions, whether it's cybersecurity, whether it's finance, the central bank has had Twitter Spaces. We've had, the Ministry of ICT having Twitter Spaces. It's something that's kind of replacing webinars. And these are things that popped up, during COVID. You go and there's a webinar and you do your Zoom and join the webinar, 500 people online. But now Twitter Spaces, it makes it easier, and it's just audio. So you can be home with your kids, probably breastfeeding, but you put on your audio, you give your presentation, and you move. The ones that are professionally done and well moderated, kudos to those. But to both your points, it's interesting to see where it's headed when it's a platform where people potentially misinforming others, abusing others, and they're just kind of going on and on and on. I don't think they can be regulated. It's Twitter.
There must be a way it can be regulated.
I think they can be held to account.
Yeah.
But I think there's a precedent when you try and regulate anything on social media. I know a neighboring country has tried to do that, and
it doesn't work.
It was just pointless. Shutting down Facebook was really pointless. But I think it's interesting to see where it goes, and my concern is just the sort of abuse on some platforms, but ideally, I think it's been working well for Rwandan institutions. And as a communicator, it's good to see that they're using those platforms. But to both your points, it's a bit concerning when you see it being
abused. Yes.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword.
Yes.
And I think we need more awareness campaigns for those that don't really understand how social media works. Because we assume everybody knows how social media works. We shouldn't take it for granted. There are many people who just join this, they're just told, open an account and follow so and so, and then you'll see what they're posting. But they don't have an understanding of, you know, verification, be careful. There's nothing like that. And also, especially for young people, today, whether it's a job application, or they will be reviewing your social media, you know, looking at your social media history. And sometimes they can even just take a decision based on your social media feed, you know, because it gives you a sense of someone, you know. And I kind of feel like the shift is going from Google to Twitter. Yeah. If you want to know who is what, so you just, you know, you search them, you see what they post about, you know, who's following them, who are they following, and you kind of have a sense, of who they are. So it's, but the concern is around the cyberbullying. And this is where I think the law enforcement agencies have more work to do, because if the cyberbullying continues, it is a problem. You know, mental health, we see that women remain victims, you know. So, yeah, there's that, you know. You can't afford to let the cyberbullying continue. Absolutely. And there's a lot of that. Yeah, there's a lot of that. And today I also saw, was it yesterday? The miss that was...
Oh, the former Miss Rwanda.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you should have seen the Twitter discussions around...
Are you talking about the image when she was coming
out
the image,
of the van?
A Rwanda Investigation Bureau van in handcuffs, going to court to hear the proceedings, yes.
Yes. My only issue was that most people were saying, oh, this beautiful, you know, human being cannot... And I feel that is a problem for women, because you're just looking at how she looks. So she doesn't deserve the change. Not really saying in principle it is wrong, whether you're a woman or not, you know. So you have a lot of that. And so you get all sorts of reactions. Sometimes it will, you know, it will go viral for the wrong reasons. So I don't know. Yeah.
No, there's no silver bullet answer to that. But yeah, we've come to the end of Viewers Edition 30. Thank you, Bryna. Thank you, Charles. And
congratulations to you, then. I mean, Viewers Edition.
I know.
Viewers Edition 30. No, to the square, to all of us. Yeah, you know, we've been doing this for 30 months.
They've been
that's more than 2
steady.
years. Yes. Yeah, so thank you to our viewers. It's been Viewers Edition for 30 months.
Wow.
Since we started. Of course, the square is much older than that. So big thank you to our viewers. Thank you for tuning in, sharing your thoughts, keeping the conversation going using #TheSquareRW. To our partners, Bourbon Coffee, thank you for always supporting the square. And have a good night. We'll see you again next week. Thank you.